Friend's boyfriend is controlling my dating life by setting me up with strangers, even making creepy attempts to replace my boyfriend. My 19F, friend's 18F, boyfriend is weirdly invested in my life? I, 19F, would like to start off by saying that I am in my own relationship, and although the title sounds weird, I just can't tell if I'm going crazy or not since everyone in my life has acted as if this situation is completely normal. A couple months ago, before I was in a relationship, I was on a dating app and would mainly use it unseriously with my friends. Mainly because I would never find anything substantial in them. I ended up matching with this guy, 19M, let's call him Dave, who only used Instagram to talk to people, and therefore I ended up giving him my egg. I specifically remember talking to my friend, 18F, let's call her Leah, about Dave. My egg is full of pictures of me and my friends. I ended up ghosting Dave due to some personal issues I was going through and some mannerisms I caught onto that I didn't like. He was low-key aggressive, and I continued to post on my egg. Months later, my friend Leah comes up to me and tells me about this guy she matched with on a dating app. Surprise, surprise, it's Dave. Leah starts saying that she understands why it wouldn't work out with me and Dave because we have nothing in common and that she's really excited for her date with Dave. I was also excited for her at first. She went on her first date with him, things were going very well. On the second date, Dave tells Leah that he wants to meet her friends. He was so pushy about meeting her friends that he said he would plan the whole thing. I told Leah that I definitely did not have to meet Dave until they're more settled into the relationship and that I wouldn't take offense to not being invited. Leah told me that she wanted me to go and that all she felt she needed to do was tell Dave that I would be at this meeting the friends date. On Leah's third date with Dave, she asks him who his celebrity crush is, and Dave responds with a popular actress of my ethnicity and then continues to express how women of my ethnicity are his type. Leah has a very different ethnicity to me and Dave was well aware of this. She finally musters up the courage to tell him that she is friends with me, and when she does he tells her, "Oh, I know, do you know why she ghosted me?" He then proceeded to tell her that he would bring a friend and turn this next date into a double date for us. I go to the double date, surprise surprise, his friend doesn't show up because he's too afraid of women. Then we go through the date with Dave and Leah heavily making out everywhere we went to the point where I just continued to get second-hand embarrassment. I then realized that my ex-boyfriend worked at one of the stores nearby, and since I was on good terms with him I decided to stop by and say hi to him. Again, this is before me and my current boyfriend got into a relationship. Leah and Dave show up and Dave asked my ex if he wanted to join us, and so he did. It was a pretty awkward setup since Leah and Dave continued to heavily make out at the restaurant we went to, but thankfully I was able to get through it without dying of boredom. A couple weeks go by and this is when I start dating my boyfriend. We made it official before Leah and Dave did, and when he finally asked Leah to be his girlfriend he sort of did it through text. Leah then tells me that they had gone on a date in the same mall we had gone on our double date and that Dave had gone back into the store my ex worked at to see if he could find him. Leah tried to play it off as a really cute thing because apparently Dave doesn't have a lot of friends, since he just transferred to this college and she believes he's just trying to make friends his own age. I don't find it as endearing since my ex was very visibly uncomfortable with Dave throughout the dinner and barely talked to him. A couple months later my boyfriend and I start to have issues. I confided in Leah, and she wasn't really helpful since all she talked about was how Dave would never do that to her. She also brought up the fact that she had a coworker who was looking for a girlfriend and that she showed him my egg and he seemed interested. Leah then started talking about how her coworker is actually one of Dave's new friends and how they're getting along well. Leah then puts Dave on the phone and he proceeds to tell me that I should break up with my boyfriend. Dave has never met my boyfriend. Dave also said that I should get myself a man of his ethnicity. Leah then admits to me that Dave has been continuously asking her for updates on how my relationship with my boyfriend is going and if we have broken up yet. A couple days later I get a follow request from Leah's coworker and I asked her if she had told him to follow me. She says Dave was the one who told him to follow me and said that Leah's coworker would treat me better. Dave just met Leah's coworker, he doesn't even know him that well. A couple hours later, Dave requested to follow me on his alternate account. I don't know what else to do or say. Leah, my boyfriend, nor my friends seem to be at all upset about this behavior, or at least not at the level I'm upset. My friends have said that it is very odd and seem to think he's weirdly involved with my life as my friend's boyfriend. Is this not weird? Am I wrong for being upset? Update 1. My boyfriend and I made up and I updated him on the situation with Leah, Dave, and Leah's coworker. At first my boyfriend seemed unfazed, but the more time passed, the more it seemed to bother him. Leah came over the night I uploaded the original post and the first thing she said was, "So what happened with your boyfriend?" Everyone is dying to know, and by everyone I mean Dave and my coworker with a huge smile on her face. I pointed out the fact that it was odd that they wanted to know so badly. Leah simply brushed it off and said that her coworker actually wanted to apologize to me. Leah said that supposedly Dave had made it sound like my relationship was done for, which is why her coworker requested me. As for Dave, he just continues to ask Leah if I've broken up with him yet. Leah continued to express her disappointment with some comments Dave has started to make about her size. She specifically talked about how she had wanted to get some dessert but he had refused to get anything and then asked Leah, "Do you get desserts with your friends every time you go out with them?" And then Leah alluded to him fat shaming her friends, specifically me and one of her other friends. A day or so later, Leah calls me and tells me that Dave has once again asked her if I've broken up with my boyfriend yet. We continued talking and she says that unfortunately she doesn't think that we can go on that trip she's been wanting to go on with all four of us. Although I had already decided I wouldn't go anywhere if Dave were present, curiosity got the better of me and I asked what changed her mind. She said if Dave was in the same room as your boyfriend, I think he would, physically, fight him. She was being dead serious. My boyfriend and I got into a pretty run-in-the-mill argument. He didn't cheat or lie or steal or hit, it was a simple disagreement. Therefore I don't think getting physical with my boyfriend is at all warranted, especially considering the fact that this rage is coming from my friend's boyfriend who I originally turned down and barely know. The day after this phone call, my boyfriend brought Dave up and asked if he had done anything else. I informed him and he seemed genuinely concerned for Leah. He said that I should genuinely consider intervening as things have seemingly gotten worse. I made efforts to intervene when this relationship between Dave and Leah was fresh, however, Leah simply accused me of jealousy. If I had been single at the time, I would have bit my tongue and taken the harsh accusation. However, by the time she made the accusation, I was in a relationship with my current boyfriend. Therefore, the accusation truly upset me, specifically because it was an insult to my boyfriend and our relationship. After reading so many of your comments, which I greatly appreciate, I think I have decided to make some space between me and Leah. Am I wrong for this? Should I try harder to intervene? TLDR, thank you for all the support on my original post. My boyfriend and I made up, but the situation with Leah and her boyfriend, Dave, has gotten worse. Leah told me that she can't see us going on that trip anymore because she thinks Dave will try to fight my boyfriend if they end up in the same room, which feels completely unwarranted. I've tried to intervene in their relationship before, but Leah dismissed it as jealousy, so now I'm considering creating some distance. Am I wrong for stepping back instead of trying harder to help her? Update 2. I unfollowed Dave after receiving feedback. Leah had confided in me about a situation with Dave and his friend Gabe, where she ended up connecting more with Gabe than with Dave. When Dave talked about other girls, Gabe comforted her, which upset Leah, though she denied having feelings for Gabe. I had also broken up with my distant boyfriend, and Leah supported me, but later told me Dave was happy I was single and told Gabe. Gabe messaged me, and we talked about how he didn't like fuckboys like my ex or Dave. Leah later confronted me about unfollowing Dave and realized Gabe likely liked her. My family also thought Gabe had feelings for her, making everything even more confusing. I wasn't going to make another update, but a lot of people have been requesting it. Thank you to everyone sending your feedback and support, it has been very helpful while managing the situation. I would like to say that after reading some of the comments, I decided to remove Dave from my following and unfollow him as well. This next part will be difficult to explain while maintaining the privacy of the people involved, so please bear with me. For some more context, one of the strengths Leah and I had as friends was that we would call and text constantly, which made our friendship so strong as it transcended barriers like distance and things like that. This makes it a little difficult to get space from Leah without her noticing. Leah had called me one night and begged me to pick up the phone. I picked it up and she expressed that she was going to be taking a new step with Dave and that she was really nervous about it. She has never taken this step before. Based on the situation and the way Dave simply sprang it on her and just his overall treatment of the situation, I told her that she didn't have to take this step if she didn't feel comfortable with it. She said she did and went along with it. A couple days later, she came over to get dinner with me saying she really needed to talk about the situation that happened. She told me that the next day, Dave had shown up with Leah's coworker, let's call him Gabe, 18M, who he had befriended. This is the same guy Dave wanted to set me up with. Leah explained that she got freaked out because she realized that she was talking and looking at Gabe a lot more than she was looking and talking to Dave. She said she felt bad, and then continued to say that Dave started talking about other girls and showed pictures of other girls he's been with. Leah then expressed to me that it really upset her and that Gabe was the one who comforted her and reassured her that Dave was really into her. Leah said my boyfriend should be the one comforting me, not Gabe, so I asked her if she had feelings for Gabe. I expected her to say a stern no and continued her story, but when I looked up from my food, she gave me that look. She then said a meek no as she looked away from me. We went down this rabbit hole, talking about the possibility of Leah having feelings for Gabe. Leah continued to tell me that she had no feelings for Gabe and that Dave was her boyfriend. To really hammer in her point she said my boyfriend is gone, and then she stopped herself, her eyes widened, as did my smirk. Leah then said you know what I meant. She then expressed that Dave is simply a better match since Gabe isn't interested in pursuing an ambitious career, meanwhile Dave is on that path. In my opinion, just because you're on that path doesn't mean you'll actually accomplish it. It's still early enough for Dave to change career paths or drop out of university entirely, so I wouldn't be choosing someone with Dave's past and track record over another guy I like simply because he says he's going to be successful in the future. Another issue I had with Leah's reasoning is that Gabe wasn't good enough for her, but apparently he was good enough for me to break up with my boyfriend and date Gabe instead. I also realized just how messy things would have gotten if I had actually done that, not knowing Leah has feelings for Gabe. As finals wrapped up, I was supposed to go on one last date with my boyfriend before I left and didn't see him for about a month or so. He continued to cancel on me throughout the week, and finally canceled on me the last day we were able to see each other and simply said see you when you come back and hung up the phone. So, I made the decision to break up with my boyfriend. He would rarely text or call, so our dates were the only time we would talk to each other, and we had those maybe once, rarely twice a week. I felt like he didn't care about me. There was more to it, but the point is that this was the last straw, so I ended it. The issue with this is that although I have many other friends, the timing of the breakup was awful, and right before the holidays, which meant I had to go home and I was a bit disconnected from my college friends. I had maintained my distance from Leah, but my mother just had to be overly critical the second I got home. My self-esteem plummeted because of this, and I felt so unworthy, taking into account that I had to break up with my boyfriend because he didn't care for me, and then my mother's comments really did not help. Leah reached out, I needed a friend, so I told her what was happening. She said she was sorry and that this was for the best. A day or so go by and she texts me to tell me that Dave was really happy when she told him that I had broken up with my boyfriend, and that he told Gabe that I was single. She said he would be reaching out soon. I told her I didn't think it was a good idea since she clearly had feelings for Gabe. Leah told me that she fixed her issues with Dave and that she didn't have feelings for Gabe. He's my coworker, Dave is my boyfriend. At least this time she got the names right. I got the message from Gabe, and I decided to talk to him since I felt isolated at home. It was friendly. I asked him what he thought about Leah and Dave. He said that they were very different, and that Dave just has to stop talking about other women. We started talking about my ex-boyfriend and Gabe said I can't stand fuck boys, I don't know why girls always end up with them. Sometimes I feel like I should just be one of them, but I just can't do it. I wasn't raised that way. I then asked him if he was saying that meant he didn't like Dave. Gabe then replies, well, he's changing, but have you heard him talk about the girls he's been with? I don't know what else you would call that. Leah called me, she told me that Gabe had called her asking to swap a shift. She said that when she had asked how the conversation was going with me, he simply said don't worry about it and hung up the phone. I told her not to worry then, and continued on my day. 30 minutes later, Leah calls me again, and then texts me. Why did you unfollow Dave? I asked her how she figured that out and she said I was on the phone with Dave and I checked his following and realized you didn't pop up on mutuals. Why did you unfollow him? I didn't believe her, but I didn't know what else to say. Gabe won't tell me what you guys talked about, and now I see that you unfollowed him. What the hell is going on up? I told her to relax, and I said that I had unfollowed him ages ago. I then asked her to swear she won't say anything to anyone, especially not Dave. She told me I promise I won't tell him. You're my best friend, I won't tell him, just please tell me. So I sent her the weird sly messages Gabe sent me. Leah then said so he likes me. That wasn't my first thought when I got the text from Gabe. I mainly felt like he knew Dave wasn't exactly the best boyfriend, but I suppose it could mean he has feelings for Leah. Yeah, I can't show this to Dave, he'll freak out. I told my family about what was happening. My mother and sister both said that Gabe obviously liked Leah, but then accused me of liking Dave yet again. Now on to second story. Uncovered my wife's 2-year affair and secret Tinder life while dealing with an STD, now lost between confrontation and legal steps. I'm in shock and I really need some advice right now. Me, 40M, and my wife, 37F, have been married for 10 years, and we recently celebrated our anniversary. We have 2 wonderful kids together. Since the beginning of the year, things have been off between us. She's been acting strangely since the beginning of the year, irritable, avoiding me, and we haven't been intimate much. Some days she's happy, some others fully irritated. Sometimes she's a great mother to our kids, some other times she wishes they had never been born. Recently, I had to go to the urologist for a urinary tract infection, and the test suggested it might be an STD. This was a huge shock because I've never been with anyone other than my wife since we started dating. Right now, she's away at a so-called business seminar, of which I talked about in a different post. She has been keeping diaries for over a decade, and out of desperation, I read them for the first time ever. It turns out she's been having multiple sexual partners for the past 2 years. In particular, there was one affair that lasted over a year, and it seems part of her irritability was due to her lover moving on to someone else. I also discovered she has a hidden Tinder account too and been meeting with other men regularly. I am devastated beyond words. I feel lost and unsure of what to do, especially since we have 2 little kids who mean the world to me. I need some advice on how to handle this situation. Should I confront her immediately? Should I consult a lawyer first? How do I even begin to process this betrayal and protect my kids through all of this? Update 1. My in-laws kindly offered to look after the kids while my wife was away at her seminar. They remain unaware of the turmoil I've been experiencing. I used this time to go through her diaries and take pictures of their contents. Each entry felt like a stab in the back, leaving me in a state of shock and disbelief. I just don't recognize anymore the person I thought I knew and loved for over a decade. To avoid going into too much detail, the revelations in the diaries would make any movie or TV series I've ever seen pale in comparison. She has been involved with at least 6 different men over the past 2 years. These affairs occurred not only during her so-called seminars but also during short business trips, dinners, and other supposed work-related events. Meanwhile, I was at home, taking care of the kids and naively believing I was supporting her career. Some entries vividly describe how great these encounters were for her, all while expressing gratitude towards me for being a devoted husband and father, without a single trace of remorse. This lack of guilt and the extent of her deception make me question her emotional and mental state. While reading through the diaries, I felt an overwhelming sense of despair and was seriously contemplating suicide. In the end, I sought refuge with friends for a few days, as I felt I couldn't be alone, otherwise I'd do something that could never be taken back. They really supported me a lot during this time and helped me get in contact with a therapist. I'm now taking regular therapy sessions once per week. They also helped me in getting in touch with lawyers specializing in divorce. I'm also getting treatment for my STD as well. Returning home after picking up the kids from my in-laws was an emotionally devastating experience. I couldn't bring myself to smile at all. At some point, while contemplating all the possible ways I could end my life, my daughter just looked at me and saw my face. Without saying a word, she just came over and wrapped her arms around me. At that moment, I broke down, held her tightly and burst into tears in front of her. She's my sweet angel, and the shame of having considered leaving my kids to suffer under their mother's disdain was almost too much to bear. For the first few weeks after finding out, I could barely sleep at all and had to depend on sleeping pills just to get through the nights. My motivation was at an all-time low, affecting both my home life and my work. I forced myself to continue exercising, and found out it was the only thing that actually made me feel better during this time. To whoever said in the previous post that I shouldn't give up on doing exercise, thank you, you may have just saved my life. The stress intensified after my wife returned from her trip. Initially, it took all my energy to hide my disgust at her and the knowledge I had gained about her actions. I've somewhat got used to this now, but it remains emotionally draining. She did notice that something was off, but still appears to believe that I am entirely unaware of what has transpired. Her lack of shame is staggering. Just recently, she asked me to buy her the expensive gift I promised her for our 10-year anniversary, for which I made an excuse to not buy yet, despite her going into another business trip just the day after our anniversary, which was described in extremely painful detail in her diaries. To make matters worse, she was even arranging to meet her latest partner on the day of my birthday. Nowadays I've started to feel a lot better, thanks to exercise and therapy. I had never been to a therapist before in my life, and to be honest, I am regretting not having done it sooner. Despite my wife betraying me in the worst possible way, part of me still thought that maybe all of this was my fault. Maybe if I had done this. If I had put more effort into that, I blamed myself for a lot of things. My therapist helped me see through it that, while I could have done some things differently, in the end, I cannot be held responsible for the actions she chose to take, and no one deserves to be betrayed in the way I was. If I'm at fault for anything, it's for blaming myself for everything, always putting her needs ahead of my own, and trusting her unconditionally without question. While it was extremely hard for me to balance work and looking after the kids alone every time she went on any of these trips, I always let her go after convincing myself that I was doing it for her, to support her business, to let her relieve stress from being at home, that this is what a supportive husband would do, and that if maybe I had a better job or made her happier, she wouldn't feel the need to escape from home. I'd be lying if I said I'm not depressed anymore, but I'm certainly doing much better these days. Nowadays, I feel more rage rather than sadness, and it is the rage that's keeping me going. My therapist advised me to channel this rage into the things I do, which has worked surprisingly well. I talked with 2 law firms about my situation, and was advised to collect more evidence, which I've been devoting myself to for the past few weeks. The things I've read in these diaries are so bizarre that I thought maybe she was just writing material for some sort of twisted novel, that is, until I found all the other stuff in her computer etc. Maybe I'm broken myself as well, but a part of me is actually enjoying this process of gathering all these tiny pieces of evidence and information, cross-referencing them with her diaries and finding everything I can about her and her lovers. Part of me wants to see her burn on social media by posting directly everything I've found out, since a big part of her business is centered around social media, but I'm refraining myself from doing so since this would also affect both me and the kids, as well as her parents, who have been nothing but kind to me since we got married. I'm also not sure if I should bring this to light to her parents as well, since this will probably devastate them. I'm planning on confronting her after talking further with the lawyers about how to make sure to gain custody of my kids. The country I live in has a rather unfair tendency of granting custody to the mother, even if she's unfit for it, setting the terms of the divorce and child support. In any case, thank you all for the advice. A few weeks ago I was in full despair, and had no idea what to do nor how to approach the situation. Nowadays, I feel that little by little I'm digging myself out of this hole I've been thrown into.